This is the end of a very beautiful day. Well, I say the end, it's about 4:30, 25 to 5. And been busy all day. As you can see, the back door is open. The back door has been open since, gosh, about 7 o'clock this morning. The sun is shining. It's absolutely gorgeous. That's Jack, he's just come in for a drink of water. Myself and Jack have been outside. I've been taking all the seedlings out of the propagator and the cold frame, and I've been potting them up and just making sure that everything's ready for planting. Because what I do, I sow the seeds in the propagator, and I'll normally sow them in small pots like this. I'll just show you. Let me just come round here. So these are the pots of seedlings. So I'll sow quite a handful, to each pot, and then I'll bring them over to the tunnel when they get to about this height, and I put the strongest seedlings into individual pots. Now, some of these have got quite leggy, but I don't vex too much about this, because you see, these leggy purple broccoli and stuff like that, you can just set the entire seedling right down into the pot to about up to its first leaves. And those stems, those little stems, will grow roots. So, it's okay. So then I put them into individual pots. We'll go over to the tunnel and I'll show you. And let them grow on in their individual pots for 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks. When they're really strong and vigorous, and instead of being very light green in colour, they begin to go dark green in colour, which means that they're beginning to mature a little bit. That's when I plant them out. Why do I do this? Well, this is Ireland. We have a fairly damp climate, and so we have quite a vigorous population of slugs. Now, the more birds you have in your garden, the less slugs you're going to have, because the birds will eat the very small slugs, and they'll also eat the slug eggs. And of course you have the beautiful thrush that will eat the snails. And if I remember now, I'll just show you when we go over here to the tunnel, where all the snails hibernated under the pots. And once I remove the pots, the population of thrush, which is actually quite a healthy population, all set about feasting on the snails. So, here we go. It's like a day in early summer, and sometimes, the spring can kind of end quite abruptly, and summer can set in pretty fast as well. So, here we go. This is where I store all my pots, okay? Now, if you look down there, can you see all the shells? The snail shells? And that's where the thrush has been in there and feasted. Sometimes other birds will go after them as well. So it's always a good idea to have a good clear out in spring, because you can really help to diminish the pests in the garden. Jack, come here. Let's see where he is. Come on, come round this way. Okay, so here we go. see? Now, this is Russian kale, and it had kind of got very leggy, so I've just buried the whole plant, the whole little seedling, in fairly tall pots, you can see, and they should do quite well. I've done the same with the red cabbage, and up here that's all squash, and then there's a few pumpkins in there. See the pumpkins? And then with other pots, what I've done is I've just sort of put them hither and thither in places where they will get maximum sunlight but maximum shelter as well. So put them in on the soil, because the soil heats up pretty quickly in here. So at night it will help to keep the pots frost free if there is any kind of a late frost. And you know, this is only the middle of March, so expect frosts. We have frosts right up until May. So I was chatting with a friend this morning, and we were talking about the economic climate as such. You know, this is Ireland, so we've been told that there's a recovery, and there's not really recovery. The politicians have been very naughty, really, because what they've done is they've messed about with the unemployment figures. They say, oh, Ireland is great now, we have lots of employment, and we don't have lots of employment. What they've done is they have ensured that those who are unemployed have been put onto work schemes where they get an extra €20 a week or something disgraceful like that. And of course, once they're on these internships, as they're called, and they can be on those for 9 months, then they're not on the unemployment register, but they're not really employed. So there's no money feeding back into the economy. Anyway, I'm quite sure whatever country you live in, you're more than familiar with the shenanigans that politicians and governments get up to. It's not a disgrace, really, and it doesn't give our young people much hope when the people that we entrust as trustees of the state carry on like that. I mean, you know, they're being paid good money to sit behind closed doors thinking up these disgraceful schemes. At the very least, if someone is on an internship with an extra €20 a week, they should still be classified as unemployed. You know, we should have some honesty. But what I began thinking about then, and I have written about this on the website and some of my blogs, is what is it that we class as our economy? Now, when I listen to, again, politicians and economists on the radio talking about the economy and the fiscal cliff and they have all these terms, they keep making things up. I don't really understand what they're talking about. And I'm a university graduate. I have an honours degree. I actually have what's called a good degree, okay? But I don't understand all this doublespeak. I quite often say politicians and economists speak with forked tongue. But if they were to include, if a country was to include the health, I mean actually the physical and the mental health of its people in the economic digest that they seem to come up with on a weekly basis, I think that would be very useful. If they were to count in the homeless, if they were to count in single parents, you know, people who are vulnerable, if they were to count in the children living in B&B accommodation because their families have no place to live. I mean, this is rife now in Ireland. It's horrendous, you know, what's happening here in Ireland. So many people who are living in B&B hotels in Dublin, and the children, and I feel so sorry for the children, you know, coming home from school to a B&B hostel. Anyway, I think that the economy of a country should be measured in the health and well-being of all its people. And instead, we hear a lot of drivel. I mean, to my ears it's drivel. So what is it to the ears of someone who hasn't had third level education? If I used to teach in London, you know, and things can be better explained than what they're being explained now on the radio and television. Is there some kind of a conspiracy to keep people in a state of ultimate stupidity and ignorance? Anyway, that's my little rant. Well, it wasn't really a rant because I didn't shout. But then there's no point in shouting because Jack will think that I'm cross with him. Jack! Good boy. And he's such a happy dog. I've just been into town to post off a few bits and bobs, and Jack sat in the back of the car with the window down. He loves to ride shotgun in the car, and he likes the window down because when another car comes along the road, he leans out the window and he snaps. He tries to bite the car. Anyway, not only do I find that amusing, but other drivers find that very amusing as well. It probably breaks up a very dull drive home or something, you know, to see this crazy dog trying to bite their car. Come on, Jack. Well, as you can see, it's just an extraordinarily beautiful evening. So I'm just going to leave you now for a moment, just listening to the sounds.